In progress.
Good morning, everyone. I am calling the Finance and Administration Committee meeting for Tuesday, February 17th to order. My name is Jim Spear. I'm the chair of this committee. The vice chair of this committee is Michael Gardini, and the other member of this committee is Councilman Mike Salmonson, and we have Maggie Dobbs and Emily Pisano, assistant manager with us. Okay, let's get to approval of minutes for January. Go for it.
I move to approve the minutes of the January 13th, 2026 Finance and Administration Committee.
Second.
Okay, any comments? No comments. Let's vote to approve the January minutes. All in favor? That's 3 in favor and 0 against. Thank you.
Can you grab me one?
Yeah.
Oh, you're right. It's not. That's okay. Okay, treasurer's report.
All right, so
Dobbs.
we are in the new year, so fresh slate, starting to see some income rolling in. Tax bills went out, so we are seeing payments there. Just as a reminder, we'll see the bulk of those payments within that discount period, so expect that to continue to increase over the next couple of months in Q1. Otherwise, the big thing, as you know, has just been our snow response. So we've had a fair amount of overtime already with our Public Works Department. So you see that we've spent about a quarter of our budget already in just the first month alone on overtime for that. So we'll see how snowy the rest of the season goes, and then we'll see how early the snows start later this year. Obviously we do have overtime in summer months as well, just with some of our special events and other activities coming up. So we'll just keep an eye on that. But that's a little bit kind of outside of our control as well. So we have to manage the snow, and we can't predict, of course, when that's going to happen. But otherwise, some of our fees that look kind of high are just, beginning of the year, we'll cover the full year's costs. So some of our subscription services we pay for the year up front. So that's why you'll see some of those jump up, but this isn't going to be like an annual thing, or I'm sorry, a monthly thing. So we kind of hit our big numbers early on for some of these. So something like our services for our software subscription services, a lot of those bill early in the year for the full year. So that should cover that. But otherwise, looking in good shape. Just kind of stocking up on equipment, so we'll see some larger expenditures in Public Works and Police as we restock uniforms for the year, as we kind of restock our inventory. So when we get a fresh budget, those two departments do like to kind of make sure that everything is well stocked. So you'll start to see a little bit of that there, but that does peter out throughout the year. So otherwise, nothing else major that I wanted to call your attention to, but happy to take. Oh, I will say, our new line item for this year, our winter maintenance, we did budget $5,000 as a new line item. Typically that had come out of just our streets program generally. We did parse that out as a separate line item for the first time this year. We budgeted $5,000 and we did spend $4,800 already. So, and that was a contract that we had with a third party to come and actually haul the snow away. So we had enough snow that we weren't able to plow it in place. We had to actually load it onto a truck, and then we dumped it all along Haverford Avenue here. We don't have the equipment to do that in-house, so we did have to hire a third party to do that.
Wow. And
that is where that single line expenditure comes from. So we are looking at some additional snow equipment that we'll be able to manage more in-house in the future. So our Director of Public Works is going to be presenting that to Council in upcoming meetings, just to review some of his plans for snow equipment. Hopefully that'll reduce the instances of us having to hire a third party to come and do the work on our behalf, and something that we can kind of manage a little bit more in budget.
Yeah.
Would we have the personnel to go along with that equipment, or?
Yeah, so the equipment now is, so we have the skid steer, which is the little like Bobcat, but that doesn't have the right mechanism to swap in and out different function heads. So it just does the one thing. We're looking at a piece of equipment that would have interchangeable parts that would enable the same staff to do more work in less time.
Gotcha.
So it would just, a carpenter's only as good as his tools,
Yep.
and a poor carpenter blames his tools.
I haven't heard that part.
Oh, no? In this case, you know, if we can reduce kind of the manual shoveling need as much as possible by getting this piece of equipment, that'll enable them to do a better job in less time. That frees them up to do more elsewhere, or not work as much overtime. So we are looking at that, and we will be presenting that to you. And of course, it's one of those things that as soon as you bring your umbrella, it doesn't rain.
Well, yeah.
So
Well, you know.
we will still be getting snow. The equipment will still be beneficial. And because the piece that we're looking at has the interchangeable parts, it's not just for snow removal.
Excellent, yeah.
So it can be used for year-round maintenance of our borough properties. So I think it's going to be a really good thing. Jeff will be introducing that to you and presenting on it, but just wanted to give you a heads up about that.
Sounds good. Sure. Okay.
I don't think anyone's worried about it not snowing again.
Yeah.
Well, you know, we can't go years and years without accumulation, so, yeah. Okay, thanks. I neglected to mention Todd will try to join us, but he's not available till after 11:15. So can we just watch for him? He's probably going to be logging in. So let's put off the presentation until he can get here. Let's move on to action items. Scheduled bills.
Move to recommend
Anybody?
scheduled bills for the general capital and solid waste funds totaling $608,928.52.
Second.
Okay. Any questions on scheduled bills?
I will note as well that it is high because we do have that $300,000 check in there to pay Roadcon, which is the bridge contractor. As a reminder, this is pass-through money, so we did not pay this money out before it was reimbursed to us. So it's an expenditure on our part, but we're only expending the money after the state has given us that reimbursement.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Anyone else? Questions? No? Looking good. Should we? Let's vote to pay the bills. All in favor? Thank you. It's 3-0 to pay the bills. Okay, item B, authorization of capital projects. Do we need a motion for this, or move to authorize capital projects more than 2?
Yeah, because we want to recommend these to full council.
Okay. Somebody.
I move to recommend to full council the authorization of capital projects, security cameras, and the 10 o'clock repair.
Second.
Great. Security cameras they're inside, right?
So it's going to be both, actually. So we are proposing to put 2 cameras internal in the building on the ground floor, facing the direction of both of the entrances. So the entrance on Haverford Avenue and the entrance on Conway Avenue. We still don't 100% know if it's going to capture kind of the vestibule area where the bathrooms are that has the doors to the police and borough offices, if it's going to be set back further or if it's going to be in there in that vestibule area, like above the bathrooms facing out. So we're still finalizing the precise location of that. But 2 are going to be proposed for inside, and then we do have a few scheduled for outside. So currently we don't have as robust footage of the basketball courts. So we're going to have a camera on the field house facing towards the building. So looking out over the basketball courts, which will give us view into the parking area next to the courts in a better manner than what we have now, and then a couple others on the corner of the building. So the Haverford corner and then the Public Works corner, so that'll give us a better sweep of the Public Works yard and the parking lot and the playing courts. So just to improve kind of our safety and visibility in those kind of key areas there. This is all going to be linked into our existing security infrastructure in that we have capacity in our existing. I'm going to be terrible at explaining the technical details of it, but essentially imagine we have a few extra ports in our box that we can plug these new cameras into. So we're not building any new infrastructure, we're just essentially buying the cameras and then paying for the labor to install the cords to plug it in. Obviously, technology moves very quickly, but this is the most economical way that we can to improve our security camera infrastructure now. We do still have a couple years left on the system that we do have. So this is a great way for us to kind of double dip on that, adding these new cameras now. We'll just piggyback off of our existing system. And then when the whole thing becomes obsolete in another 5 to 7 years, maybe at most, then we'll do a full retrofit at that time. But we felt it was important to maximize our lifespan of our existing infrastructure before chucking it and reinvesting in something new altogether if we don't have to at this time. So we're just going to be adding to our existing system. We have the capacity for it in our actual hardware. And so then we'll be able to enhance the security starting now.
What is a bullet camera? Is it? It's listed as a bullet camera. Is that
I think
just like
it's
a
the-
tight shot?
I
or
think it's the
something?
shape of the camera itself.
Oh, right. Okay.
It's, I mean,
Trivial.
because you have the ones that are like mounted with the
Mhm.
dome on it,
Mhm.
and then you have the camera in the middle. I think that's what
I mean, that would make sense.
Yeah. Okay.
as opposed to the ones that are like the white ones that kind of protrude.
Yeah. Just caught my eye. It says weatherproof bullet camera. So I thought, was it bulletproof camera or is it? Okay. No.
I don't know if it's going to be bulletproof.
Yeah. Right.
I'm not sure if it is.
All right.
Maybe.
Okay. Okay, so more questions on that? Clock, pretty straightforward. Everyone knows it's been broken for many years and due.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, all in favor of recommending those two? That is 3-2, nothing.
Just
Recommended.
add that to the other agenda, you know, where you have like committee review, it says infrastructure already approved these, you have to add another one to say
Oh, for F&A.
F&A approved too.
Yeah, we can talk about that later.
Yeah, okay.
All right, everybody approves. All right. Okay, item C, approval of resolution 2026-05, Monco 2040 grant submission.
Move to recommend approval of resolution 2026-05, Monco 24 grant submission.
Second.
Okay, this is for the Elmwood Bridge, Elmwood Park.
Elm Grove Park.
Elm Grove Park.
Pedestrian Bridge Project. Yeah, so we received the estimates from our engineer. So including now the stormwater management facility at the end of Elmwood Avenue, the total project cost is estimated to be $465,919. $465,919, there we go. The Monco 2040 grant has a maximum award of $250,000. So obviously our project is more than that. The $250,000 eligible costs for that would be inclusive of the stormwater management facility, the actual bridge construction itself, and the demolition of the old bridge. So what the grant award does not cover is our engineering service fees, which are about $90,000. And I believe I included the Pannoni cost estimates I did, yes. So you can see kind of the breakdown of it. So our actual breakdown of costs for the actual physical infrastructure and improvements do meet or exceed that $250,000. So we're requesting the full amount that we can from the Monco 2040 grant. And then what we're saying to them is everything that's above that $250,000 is going to be part of our required match. So the 250, we have enough in the scope of work that the 250 is all eligible expenditures. We have a minimum of 20% match. We're obviously exceeding that because we're almost at, I think, like 40% match. I didn't do the math. Since we're $200,000 essentially over what the maximum award is. This is what I was explaining to you earlier. So right now we're looking at about a $200,000 contribution that the borough would be committing to for local funds. So we do have that money set aside in our capital budget. We set aside $400,000 for the project, which is pretty on par actually with what our total estimate ended up being, especially because we added the stormwater feature to the project. But worst case scenario, we have the money budgeted in our CIP to fund this entirely by ourselves. The grant, though, will go a long way towards offsetting those costs. So then that means that of the $400,000 that we've budgeted over the next 2 years, we'd only have to spend half of that if we were to get awarded the full $250 from the county. In addition, though, to this is that we're also applying for DCNR grant funding for a similar amount. That amount under the C2P2 Small Communities Grant Program is eligible for up to $100,000, which would mean that if we were to then also get that full $100,000 from DCNR, that would then drop our required contributions down to about $100,000. And we're also applying to get the stormwater facility covered under the low volume road grant for the county. And so if we take a look at Pinoni's costing for that, it looks like our the rain garden itself is about $60,000. So we're going to be working with the county to figure out what the maximum award is that we could possibly get for that. So really, I was saying that we could probably piggyback off of enough of these grants to have a zero cost to the borough. It looks like we still will have some costs, but if we get all of the grants, it might be looking at closer to $40,000 instead of $400,000.
That's great.
So we'll be doing everything that we possibly can to offset as many costs as we can by piggybacking our grant applications off of one another. So Monco 2040, the grant submission is due by March 2nd. We will know within about 4 months or so from that submission date whether or not we've been awarded that grant, and if so, how much. So sometimes they will award grants, but they won't award you the full amount that you've requested. So we'll see. But our DCNR grant is due before we know about the Monco 2040 grant, so we're just going to go all in for everything and see how much we're able to be awarded. So we're working hard on that. I know that's mine and Emily's primary focus as we head into the last 2 weeks of the month before our submission deadline. So it's looking good. I think we have a strong application. The inclusion of the stormwater management facility for the Monco 2040 grant, I was told, is actually a really beneficial thing to add, since it actually increases our kind of scoring capacity because it provides both a volume and a water quality component to the project above and beyond the connectivity of the pedestrian bridge itself. So it's really beneficial that we're able to do it all.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to thank Pinoni, I know we have Tony here, for their efforts in having all of those pre-meetings, pre-permit meetings with DEP in order to get us to the point where we're able to do the general permit to do the whole project in one.
Yeah, seems like this is a good spot to rack up a lot of credits for stormwater. Like, it's.
Yeah.
Quick question.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'm maybe just looking at this wrong. Does the sidewalk on the other side of the street just kind of like end?
On which side, the north side or south side? And are you looking existing or proposed plans?
Proposed, because I'm looking at it kind of like,
Yes. Yes, so the south
There's a
side.
pre-existing road there.
no, I'm sorry. On the north side, not what Joe was asking about.
Okay.
Because I'm very, very familiar with that area. I'm talking about like if you're on Elmwood heading towards the bridge.
Yes.
Heading towards Wynwood.
Correct.
And I'm looking at what page, which sheet is this? Sheet 6 of 7.
Mm-hmm.
What page in the agenda?
48.
48.
48.
Okay.
Yeah, so what's happening here is that we're going to be de-paving Elmwood Avenue by about 20 feet.
Yeah.
And then there's currently, so as you were saying, if you're on Elmwood Avenue heading towards Wynwood, to your left is the south side of the street, which currently has a sidewalk that connects into that existing bridge.
Yes.
Since we're
that's right.
taking out that bridge, we're also taking out that sidewalk about 20 feet up to the top end of that stormwater facility. So that comes out as well. So we're de-paving 20 feet of Elmwood Avenue, we're de-paving about 20 feet of sidewalk, and then we're adding a new curb ramp to cross Elmwood Avenue
Yeah.
before the stormwater facility. So as you're heading down Elmwood Avenue, if you're on the sidewalk, you're going to need to then cross at that ADA ramp to the north side of Elmwood Avenue to cross over the bridge, since the bridge is now going to be on the north side
Yeah.
of the roadway. So that comes out. So we're losing some amount of impervious cover there. That just
Yeah.
becomes grass. And that land is owned by, it's in the right of way, but it'll just revert ownership to the property owner there.
Okay.
They maintain it as they would their sidewalk since it's in the right of way.
Yeah, I guess the reason why I was asking that was because whoever lives there has primary access to their house off of that sidewalk.
Mhm.
So I wanted to just confirm, they're not gonna like lose access to their house via us removing that sidewalk,
I
right?
see, okay, that's a good point. Tony, did you guys take a look at that? Would the removal of the sidewalk impact like the front walkway to that house?
As far as I remember, it does not. We can double check that just to make sure. But from what I remember, the walkway is still in the area where the existing sidewalk will remain, as well as any driveways that might be there too.
Yeah, just because that one property like is a weird one where like their driveway is off of Wynwood, and I don't know that they ever use it because there's some jankety, like they have some jankety bridge to get into like something that was my understanding of this property is like that person's entering and exiting off of Elmwood, so I just wanted to make sure that we weren't like island them
Yeah.
if
Not
we're removing
stranded.
part of the sidewalk, yeah.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. So what we'll do is in our final design is we'll just verify that we're not terminating that sidewalk then before, and I do see that they do have a front walkway that connects into the sidewalk. So we'll want to then terminate that sidewalk past that walkway. So I'm not sure, I'm looking at the just street view of this. But we'll make sure that they'll still have access to that. And I was thinking as well, we haven't actually reached out to the property owners, those two at the end, just to let them know that this is
That's going to be my
under
follow-up question.
consideration.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what I wanted to do was once we get the confirmation from you all, just to send them a message to let them know that this is under consideration. Now, we don't have to. It is in the public right of way, so we have the right to do it, but we obviously want to be good neighbors, bless you, and make sure that they're aware and that we can answer any questions or concerns that they have about the project, especially because at this point we are now talking about depaving a small portion of the roadway.
Yeah, and I mean, the project makes total sense. It's right as water's draining into the
Yeah,
waterway.
it's going right into the east branch of the Indian Creek,
Yeah.
and right now there's no water quality controls over that, so all of the water coming down off of Elmwood Avenue, whatever it's picking up, whatever sediments, whatever oils, whatever it's picking up, really doesn't have much in the way of a sediment capture or water quality feature. So the stormwater facility, Tony, correct me if I'm wrong, but will serve as both a volume and rate control as well as a sediment and water quality control.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah, so certainly, I mean, if you're living on it, this is good for the long-term health of the thing that you're living above. But definitely just making sure that they know. I mean, we saw this on the stormwater ones. We've had folks who live near it come out, and then we had an opportunity to explain to them why these things were going in, and give people just an opportunity to come and ask questions. And,
Despite that, they still refer to it online as, or social media as a rain garden.
well, it's kind of a ringer.
It's a garden.
Well, that's the benefit of it, right? That's the extra add-on, that's not the purpose. It doesn't sound like it's only a step.
Yeah. Anyway, so
Because we all have snow on the mind, who's going to be responsible for keeping this clear, in the winter? Especially the part that's in the homeowner's connection to it.
So I mean, the homeowner would be responsible for clearing the sidewalk up until the end of their property line. The bridge itself, though, let's see where the property line actually extends to. Oops. Tony, do you know where that one property owner's line? I mean, I think the property line terminates at the center line of the stream.
I think it may go all the way out to the Wynwood Road right of way, because I know it at least involves both sides of the stream. Because we did at one point reach out to them to see if they wanted to involve their portion of the stream in this project to replace their wall. because it was in their property. They ended up not wanting to do that, but yeah, I know their property does extend, past the stream.
Okay. So it sounds like then theoretically, if the bridge actually falls within their property, they would be responsible for.
I'm sorry, the bridge piece is in the right of way.
Yeah.
Or the existing bridge is in the right of way. Yeah. And then the property line is a few feet downstream of where the bridge currently is.
Okay. Yeah, so the property line, so, per state law, all property owners have to maintain sidewalks within the right of way on their property. The bridge would then partially fall within their property within the right of way, but then part of it wouldn't be. So from a safety standpoint, this would likely fall under, Public Works would need to clear the bridge itself, I would imagine, since we'd be clearing the sidewalks along Wynwood. We'd go down and clear the walkways and the bridge itself up to the Elmwood Avenue side, and then it would be the property owner's responsibility to clear the sidewalk really past the bridge. So that's a good point and something that we can certainly kind of clarify just to ensure that there's safe passage.
Yeah, and I guess the critical part will be the access to the bridge. If the borough is going to be clearing the bridge itself, there's that ADA ramp, and there's just the way people get onto the bridge from the Elmwood side. Be curious about whose responsibility that is to maintain that.
Yeah, I mean, the ADA ramps would fall within the property owner's responsibility, as any ramps are everywhere else in the borough.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So in terms of snow removal, Tony, do we have an area of snow storage here before the rain garden?
That I'm not sure of. That's something I can ask Jeff, though.
Okay.
He might have a better idea.
Yeah, so that's more of just a logistical question as opposed to anything else, just because we'd want to make sure our snow plows, if we're pushing snow here,
It's gotta go somewhere.
it's got to go somewhere.
Just since this is sort of a unique spot where it's going to be, maybe the property owner should be specifically alerted to that, about their responsibilities.
Yeah, I mean, let me talk to Jeff about the specifics, but, we'll reach out and make sure that before we proceed with the project anyway, that we alert them that this is going to be something, I mean, they're responsible for the sidewalks regardless.
Yeah.
So this really doesn't change
I know, but they should be.
their responsibility, but
Yeah.
absolutely, yes, we will make sure that they're aware of the scope of the project and any changes that might need to their kind of winter maintenance responsibilities.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think that'd be good. I mean,
Yeah.
it became very evident to me that there's a bunch of people that don't realize that they're also responsible for the curb cuts.
I know it.
So, yeah, this will be a new one for them. We'll just let them know.
Okay, I'm sorry this turned into an infrastructure committee meeting, but, okay, this is really about the grant submission. So can we vote on that without any more comments? Let's vote for the grant submission. All in favor? That's 3-0 for the grant submission approval. Let's move on to item D, approval of resolution, police advisory. Somebody.
Move to recommend approval of resolution 2026-04, police advisory committee.
Second.
Okay. This is,
It's just cleanup, right?
Yep.
just ordinance language cleanup.
Yeah, not ordinance, but resolution. So the PAC was created by resolution, and then in 2022, in December 2024, there was a change to the charge. So essentially, the resolution that created the PAC had certain membership requirements that had to be met. That was modified through this charge that was adopted, I guess, in December 2024. However, the charge isn't as formal a recognition as a resolution is, and since we're through this committee working to clean up all of our boards and commissions and make sure that our language is kind of clear and all in one place, we are just proposing a cleanup resolution that would essentially supersede the origination resolution and update the membership of the PAC to reflect the charge that changed that membership requirement in December 2024.
Okay. Okay. All right, you good?
Yep.
All in favor?
Yep.
That's 3-2, so item E and F, can we take them together or can we just, because they're going to be the same?
Yeah, I do them separately,
Okay.
so this is the sidewalk and the bump out, the certificate for payment.
Yeah,
Let's do them separately because the sidewalk had some modifications that Tony will explain to us.
Okay.
So did you want to do the bump outs first? What do we have first?
sure, because there's no change to that.
Yeah.
Okay. Can we get a motion for F first?
Move to recommend certificate for payment number 2, stormwater bump out project.
Second,
Okay. There's no change to this?
No change.
Okay.
we can do the vote.
We can vote? Yes. Okay, all in favor of that? Very good. Now let's go back to E.
Move to recommend certificate for payment number 2, sidewalk project.
Second.
Okay, thanks.
All right, so do we want Tony to go ahead and explain then the change that happened with the payment here?
Yeah, so you'll see in our letter that that we had an additional cost of about $7,500. The additional price was due to a quantities error that we had on our bid spreadsheet, happened around the time when the scopes or when the scope of the project had changed. The quantities were not accounted for. They were all of those quantities were part of the original base bid. So there was not any additional work that wasn't approved by council, if that makes sense. Everything was approved by council. And let's see here. And I get the thing that we want to stress is that this money is owed to the contractor for work that was already approved by council. It was not anything, additional or any additional work that was not approved.
It's, Tony, we just, when we changed the scope, we just didn't update one of the cost items to reflect that scope. Is that basically it?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And they'll consider this final payment and everything that?
Yeah, so
Okay.
this will be final payment. This will close the project out.
Excellent. Okay, any other questions? No, okay, thanks, Tony. Let's vote to approve. Thank you, that's 3-0 to approve that. Last item, G, Planning Commission 2025 Annual Report.
Move to recommend, acceptance of the Planning Commission 2025 annual report.
Second.
Okay,
We're just accepting it, right?
we're not discussing it. We don't have to discuss it.
No, if you don't want to.
Let's just accept it and move on. Okay?
But hopefully everyone's read it. There's good information in there.
Okay. All good?
Yep.
Okay. All in favor? That's 3-0. Thank you. All right, that's the end of the action items. Is Todd nearby?
Yes, Todd is online.
Oh, cool. Okay, excellent. Let's get to the Planning Commission recodification of zoning ordinance report. Good morning, Todd. Todd Bressi, Planning Commission.
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me clearly?
Yep.
Terrific. Yes, do read that Planning Commission annual report. It's a keeper, I can guarantee it. Anyway, thanks for inviting me here to update you on the recodification. The milestone we've passed is at this month's February's Planning Commission meeting, we did give the Planning Commission a complete draft with one exception for them to review, and we provided certain kinds of questions they might think about while they're looking at it in different ways they might test the code. For example, by trying to take a recent application or even looking at their own property and trying to see if what the reorganized code looks like, helps them navigate either an application or what they might do on their property. The one exception is, as this is a repeal and replace, there are sections of the code that will be incorporated into the recodified code without any changes, and so that will be one of the last things we do is just move that all over. At the Planning Commission meeting in February, Adam Chance and I, who are working on this together, did note there was one important addition, which is in all the drafts people have seen up till now, there was a table which outlined allowable land uses by district, and in the table it provided granular information as to whether this was a permitted use, a conditional use, a special exception, if there were distance regulations or performance standards. It was all in one table. But what we realized over the last few months is that we also have a situation where there are certain land uses that are, or certain uses that are only permitted in certain types of building. In a theoretically perfect form-based code, you wouldn't have that, but it does make sense in Narberth for some uses to be only allowed in certain kinds of buildings. And so we couldn't figure out how to incorporate that into that one land use table. And so we created a second table. So now there are two tables in the land uses chapter. One table describes what uses are permitted in each district, and then has cross-references again to things like special exceptions and conditional uses and so forth. And then there's a second section which explains which land uses are permitted in which building type, and it also explains that by district. So the y-axis is land uses, the x-axis is districts, and then in each cell it explains which building types are allowed to have that land use in that district. So that was a new addition that no one had really seen until February. So for example, Maggie, when you did your tests of the code in December, you didn't see that chart. That's a new chart. There was a bit of a discussion, and I must report that Council President Bush asked one of those questions that makes you just stop in your tracks, which was, how can you make sure that everything in the old code is in the new code? And I think that is always a question to bear in mind, and so I'd like to report to you the answer I gave him. One is I have a copy of the existing code, shall we say, where I make a strike through every time something is moved over. And so one method is to make sure, is to look at that draft and make sure everything has a strike through. Secondly, particularly with complicated chapters, like the site planning chapter, I have independently gone back and reviewed that whole chapter and made sure everything was carried over to the right place. So there's that kind of interim step of checking as well. But I think that was a very, baseline critical question that Council President Bush asked. And so I think as we move forward, we'll do one more check to make sure nothing of that nature is missed. That question's going to haunt me now. But I'm glad Council President Bush asked that question. So here's what we are doing, Adam Chance and I, while the Planning Commission is reviewing the draft. Which by the way, one thing I'll say is the draft was included in the Planning Commission packet, and so it is a public draft now. Anyone could conceivably look at it.
Sorry, Todd. No, it's not yet. It was included in the packet for the Planning Commission members, but the draft ordinance doesn't become publicly available until it's ready to be recommended to council.
Well, thank you for clarifying that, Maggie. I didn't understand that, so thank you. I would say that as the Planning Commission is reviewing it, Adam Chance and I are working on a number of things, which right now are just cross-checking and verifications, which include making sure all the cross-referencing between within internal to the plan is accurate. Reviewing table numbering, we still are trying to figure out how to incorporate the tables that are in the appendix to the code now into the table numbering system. And we are, Maggie, we're continuing to make sure that the 5A district is one district and kind of removing references to sub-districts and things like that. And the last thing, once we do all that and then carry all the unchanged text in, the last thing we'll do is we'll do a formatting, a review of the formatting, because Microsoft Word was not invented to do tasks like this, so it's kind of tricky. Another question that came up at the Planning Commission, which I'll report to you, was about links. And we talked a lot about making sure when this is actually entered into the Munich code, that there are internal links within the code. So within the zoning chapter, and there are a few cases where the zoning code refers to the saldo, and a few other references to other aspects of the borough code. So we are also tracking those links, so those can be part of the way that people navigate. They'll be able to see, like if it says, to achieve this conditional use approval, you need to comply with the green building standards. You can then link to the green building standards to make it easier for people. So that is where we are. I assume the Planning Commission will discuss this at its next meeting, and hopefully shortly afterwards, Adam and I can have a clean draft. I guess a question for council will be how it wants to proceed from there. I know there is a council workshop meeting a few days later. It makes me a little nervous that more people won't be looking at this, and so I would encourage there to be a time when others could look at it to make sure that everything seems to be in order. So I guess after the Planning Commission meets and after we finish up all these changes, we will have to receive further direction from council about how to proceed from there.
Are you thinking members of the public would, they would have another sort of proof eye over this, or catch details, or have questions that might come up?
I mean, it's always possible, and obviously this has to be, put out on the table for the public to review.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't count on that as being a safeguard, shall we say, right?
Right. But we'll have other people potentially look at it.
Yeah,
Right.
I also wanted to jump back to the use, associating the uses by building
Oh,
type.
you beat me to my question. I don't understand that.
There's a little bit of background on this, and I wanted to just get clarity, kind of like, is the intent to, well, first let me start from the beginning. So,
Just give an example of where the.
here's a perfect example.
Okay.
Do you know the property that we, the year or two ago, approved for conversion to a dental office in downtown?
Yes.
Okay. During that process, I was partially on Planning Commission, I was partially on council. We discovered what I think was an inadvertent issue with the code, which was the code was really designed for new construction. Our code would treat that prior existing property as a multifamily house because it was a house structure that served as 3 units. So when the gentleman came in and said, well, I actually want to do a dental office and then 2 units above, suddenly the code said, oh, well, that's a mixed-use building. Even though it's a protected historic resource, because it would then be a mixed-use building, it would say, oh, you have to completely change the exterior of the property. You have to do all these additional, it triggered all of this additional stuff that was problematic when all he wanted to do, it kind of...
Just convert one of the units internally, basically.
Yeah, right, and so it kind of then would pit the historic ordinance against the zoning code. So at the time we kind of, and Kevin, when we brought this up to Kevin was like, well, the zoning code really was, the form-based zoning wasn't really intended, it was intended for new construction, not really for this. And so we did a quick fix to the code to deal with that immediate circumstance. But it triggered the idea that, like, for some of these things, like if you're allowing the uses, and also we want you to adaptively reuse these properties, what is the problem with allowing, for instance, one of the triplexes in downtown, if they wanted to become a restaurant with units above, why are we forcing them to make all sorts of things that would be contrary to the historic district? Or, for instance, Montgomery Avenue is another good example, because we have all sorts of like house structures. If someone wanted to adaptively reuse that, why would we? And then Woodbine's another example where we have just restaurants that are in a house.
Right.
You know, those sorts of things. So I think the idea was to restore the original intent of our codes, which was to promote adaptive reuse without forcing owners to make changes that are going to be contrary to the historic preservation ordinance.
So that building addenda, I'll call it, is to be permissive, not restrictive.
So in a normal zoning code, the way that they usually operate, and I'm overgeneralizing here, because obviously millions of zoning codes across the country, but often what you'll see is that it just says this use is allowed in this zoning district. There may be certain uses that there's specifications where, but ours is kind of like hyper restrictive, and currently the way it's written, and I don't think it was intended this way, which is it says, okay, well, this use has to be in this building type, which means that the building types now become hyper important because it has all these downstream consequences. So I think that, like, one of the things that we were trying to unravel was to say, like, actually, was that really the intent? And if not, can we pull back a bit and allow for adaptive reuse? Now, there are like certain things that kind of need to be, like, for instance, we have these provisions that say, well, if you're adaptively reusing a civic institutional building, then we give you a little bit more flexibility for that. If you want to have some additional uses, you can come and request a conditional use. Like if you're adaptively reusing a church, right? You have some additional kind of capacity to do that. And so that has to be more like associated with the specific building type. But for some of the other sorts of things, I think we were trying to moving away from saying, now, we do say certain things, you know, you have to have on the upper floor, because for like Haverford Avenue or North Narberth, we want those to be active ground floor. So there's some difference there. But I guess explaining all of that, my question was going to be, I wanted to make sure we weren't like moving the conversation about associating with building type, that we weren't moving back towards kind of like the hyper restrictive version that I think was kind of unintentional, and I just wanted to get clarity on that piece. So anyway, that's the backstory. I'll pitch that question over to Todd.
Sure. So the first and foremost principle to remember is this is a policy neutral exercise, right? So it is not the purpose of this recodification to make things tougher or easier, or the only purpose is to take a code we have now and reorganize it in a way that's easier for people to use. And so what I would say about this topic is understanding the relationship between land uses and building types in the Narberth zoning code is one of the most detailed forensic exercises ever. And so having it in a table, the whole idea of this is to bring it to light so that people can see it. And so, Councilmember Salmonson, this will make it easier for everyone to see where we have these restrictions. And that makes it easier to ask the question, should we have that restriction? Why is that restriction? And so as it hopefully will make it easier for council to consider future policy choices. But this exercise itself is not making things easier or harder. It's just simply illuminating what we have. And in this particular case, in a way I think has never really been clear until people actually bump up against a rule and find it's there. And so I hope this will be helpful to council in evaluating future policy changes.
So my question was a little bit different, which was just to that table, Exhibit B, I'll call it, or whatever. In general, does that impose additional, or,
No.
so it's like exceptions to what would generally be allowable within an area? Or does it create an additional?
Well, as it-
Maybe I'm not articulating it. You know, as it
I
currently
understand.
exists, right, under
Right.
the code? Like,
Yes.
maybe you could give an
Sure.
example, like it says, no, a laundromat can only be in a one-story building because it makes fumes or something like that.
It works both ways.
Oh, okay.
So, for example, one way it works to be more permissive is, there's a tiny little provision that says if you are building an apartment building on Windsor Avenue, where have certain rules that allow you to build bigger, denser buildings because we felt the capacity was there. We allow apartment buildings that have a small amount of commercial use on the ground floor, which of course an apartment building doesn't have commercial uses.
Ah.
But it seemed to make sense to allow that rather than a mixed use building. At the time the code was modified, like 5-6 years ago, because a mixed use building would have required commercial on the entire ground floor of the building. And that wasn't really a feasible thing to think about. And so the apartment, rather than changing rules for the mixed use building, the planning commission felt it made more sense to change the rules to the apartment building. In that case, to allow the flexibility, if the developer so chooses, to have ground floor, a limited amount of ground floor commercial use.
Cool.
The same idea is being explored now in the 5B district, and would be integral, to proposals we've seen for redeveloping the Rite Aid site. That developer has asked for similar provisions. So in that case, the rules allow more flexible uses than would the base rules would allow. But in other cases, as Councilmember Galdini said, the rules make things more restrictive.
Cool, okay.
That's great. That's good. Anything else we want to ask about this at this time?
No, it's just a major cleanup that is needed in the code.
For sure. It's a lot of work.
And, yeah.
And I hope they're paying you time and a half for this.
That's the next agenda item, I think, isn't it?
It's amazing. So,
We're all old enough to remember the song, nothing times nothing is nothing. Maybe, God, Edie.
Oh, I know, I'm well aware.
I'm playing that song through my head, Billy Preston.
There you go. I knew you would know it.
well, thank you, Todd. This is
Okay,
amazing.
thank you.
Thank you for coming and thank you for reporting on this. And
Thanks for your text message, Councilmember Spear, reminding me of the meeting. Appreciate it.
oh, sure. All right.
Yep.
Until
Okay,
next
bye-bye.
time.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you.
Okay, very cool. Let's go on to discussion items. A, facility rental policy. Maggie, what's up with this?
So this is what we'd started discussing at the workshop earlier in the month. Looking ahead at our time, I don't think that we're going to have much substantive discussion on this for today, but wanted just to bring it to your concern, or bring it to your attention because of some concerns that we've been having regarding this. And just to make it, spend a little bit of time now to save a lot of, questions, confusion, heartbreak moving forward. Quick update on this, our solicitor John Walpo did send me tiers for the kind of alcohol usage. So we're gonna have 3 tiers, one for BYOB, one for served alcohol, kind of at our facilities, and then our big public special events are in the 3rd tier. So the different requirements, the different insurance requirements, and other kind of documentation that we would need kind of escalates with that usage. So from an alcohol usage standpoint, we do kind of have those tiers in place. So we are going to be moving forward on kind of codifying that in our permit application form, just to make applicants aware of these are the things that we're going to be requesting. Depending on whether or not you're going to have alcohol, and if you have alcohol, what kind do you have, So John did recommend that for BYOB, that it be limited to beer, wine, and like the seltzer spritzer kind of things, no hard alcohol. If you have hard alcohol, then it has to be under that next tier for served alcohol. And then the special events, right, has its own thing, it can be whatever. But there's other things that we had started talking about in terms of like timing of events, which council had kind of indicated that you were supportive of limiting we'll call them the school night events, so that would be Sunday night through Thursday night. Limiting those to conclude at 10 p.m., which would be inclusive of the kind of final cleanup time, just to help us out in terms of turning over the space for then our recurring user, New Horizons, who operates Monday through Friday. So that would just help our housemen out a little bit with their turnaround time. But we had a couple other things that came up. It's outlined in the memo, so I won't spend too much more time kind of detailing it with you. But if we want to kind of think about those issues and then, reserve some time in our next meeting to really take a deeper dive into this.
Okay. Yeah.
That makes, can I ask, does anyone have a problem with the 10 p.m.?
No, I think we had
No.
sort of decided that informally at full council.
Yeah. So I mean, we can always discuss that again further, but if we kind of generally feel comfortable, should we as a body kind of say like, that one I think we're probably mostly agreed on, and then next time we can pick up the other items?
Sounds really reasonable.
My one thought about that we sort of didn't discuss is, what I call the daycare penalty. So if they go after 10 p.m., they have to pay, be on the clock, really create an incentive for them to be out, really out.
Okay. Yeah, we can certainly draft something in our policies to say, if you're over your time, then you get charged by the half hour.
Yep.
Because it's additional staff
Yep.
time that our staff have to make up for.
Doesn't sound like it's going to really affect too many groups or.
No, we don't
Yeah.
have too many. We do have a couple of events coming up, like various fundraisers that are during the week. But, they should be over by 9. It's just moving it up from 11 to 10.
Yeah.
But we do want to make it clear that when we say 10, it's not your event ends at 10. It's the event is done and you are cleaned up and
Yeah.
out of
Yep.
Yeah.
you and all of your things
Yeah.
are walking out the door no later than 10 p.m.
Yeah.
Do I say, I saw a reference from a 1970s Narberth meeting where they were discussing a facilities rental policy. So this is an evergreen topic.
And I know we modified it since I've been on council at least once, so.
Yeah, well, we don't have a formal
Yeah,
policy.
yeah,
We have an
yeah.
application form,
Yeah,
but not really a
yeah,
formal policy.
yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I should say we modified the application.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, this all sounds good. Should we move on from this?
Yeah.
Okay. Next topic is B, review of boards, borough board and commission charges.
We put it in the packet for full council, so. I think-
Well, let's just talk about it one more time so we can finalize this, because we had a couple questions, particularly about
Yeah.
Fongy.
I had 2 questions.
Yeah.
Everything looked good to me. My only questions were, do we want Fongy to, because Fongy seems to want to have a relationship with us, even though they're not really a board or commission. But do we want to say, yes, here you connect into the system in the same way that the boards and commissions do? If yes, then kind of where do they go? And then the other one was, and this maybe is related, kind of similar to that, which is IDA. They're currently shown as coming to us. I wasn't sure if, because mostly when we're going to be engaging with the IDA, presumably it's on prioritizing an infrastructure project of some sort. So I wasn't sure if they should stay with F&A or if they should go over to infrastructure. And similar with Fongy, presumably we're engaging with them on prioritization of infrastructure projects. If we want them to report, should they come to here, or to infrastructure or to
Yeah.
PHS?
Well, you guys are also in infrastructure. I'm not. What do you think of?
IDA, I think Mike's right, probably should come to infrastructure, right? Because they're not going to be coming to ask us for money, right? At best, we'd be going to them potentially to say, hey, are you willing to fund this infrastructure project, and that's probably gonna come from infrastructure. So I think that maybe makes sense.
Okay, and also, what do you think of Fonky?
I don't know that I would put them on here.
At all?
I mean, they're not a board or commission, they're their own 501c3.
But they seem to come to us and ask for like what our priorities are, is that?
So I would actually recommend the way that Fongy is set up, like their actual bylaws and their origination language, is that council goes to them. So
Okay.
council is always invited to go to their board meetings.
Sure.
I would recommend that we maintain that structure. They are a separate 501c3. So any communication from council to Fongy or Fongy to council should be held through their board meetings, because that's where they make the decisions about how they're spending their money. Their money is, intended to support borough activities, but the borough is not directing them necessarily. It's a partnership collaboration as opposed to a directive. So in that sense, it's different from the other boards and commissions. So I would actually not include them kind of in the hierarchy as reporting to a board. Council should work collaboratively and join Fongy at their board meetings. So for example, the next one is today. I sent you all the invite.
Yeah.
So that's where that dialogue I think should happen.
So I'm gonna try to attend that, but I'm not really authorized to speak for council,
Right.
I can.
So maybe the way to do it is for council to like appoint an observer.
Well,
And
to report
well,
back to council, right?
Should
Or a
that-
liaison or a designated
Yeah.
liaison
Should be-
or something.
Should it be him as a liaison, or should
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
liaison go through a committee? The reason why I'm saying that is like, which committee is kind of tasked with overseeing? What are we normally gonna be interacting with Fongy on? Presumably it's capital improvement projects or some sort
Yeah.
of thing. So it kind of made sense to me to say like, if infrastructure, and this is what I was thinking I had, if infrastructure is the primary committee for overseeing like CIP generally, should that be the liaison committee to then go provide them our feedback to say like, hey, we're here, we're doing our outreach in terms of like, this is what's on our 5-year CIP, this is what we're looking to do, is there anything in here? Because that's effectively what we said when Rob showed up at our council meeting. We said, well, look at the CIP.
Yeah.
But what's the structure through which someone will recurringly provide feedback to them? And I assumed that whichever entity is kind of like prime seat to oversee the CIP might be the entity to do that. But it doesn't have to be. We could always just appoint an individual member to serve that purpose as well.
It just might be useful if that person's on infrastructure, right? I mean, we can also have the committee be the liaison, right? Like, I just feel like it's not a reporting structure on this chart.
It's
Maybe
not
we add another sentence that says, Fongy can, to the extent that they want to do anything, they should liaise first with the infrastructure committee.
Yeah, or that our recommendation would be that it be a liaison, not a reporting structure, and and we would either recommend that council appoints an individual, or that the committee is the the designated liaison in our recommendation. Council could always say, well, actually, we want to do something different, but.
That seems good.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys are both on infrastructure.
Yeah.
You're both on this committee too, so one of you would be the natural pick for this. You like it?
But I'm happy for that to be, if y'all feel that it would be better housed in a different committee, then we can all, that was just the one that like logistically made the most sense.
I mean, maybe we just say to council, like, it's not on the chart. We discuss this, what are your thoughts? See what everybody says.
Okay. But do we sort of like that as a recommendation?
To recommend either a committee or an individual. I
Yeah.
don't feel strongly one way or the other.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I throw out two options to them. Yeah, committee.
Yeah.
If committee, do we have a recommendation on which?
Yeah, it should be infrastructure.
Infrastructure. So I'd say we have two options, either have the liaison go through infrastructure committee, or have kind of council appoint a liaison individually.
Okay,
So they, A and B.
that seems good.
Okay.
All right, we can talk about that at the next meeting. All right,
And everything else seemed good.
yeah, great, okay.
Oh,
So, the only other thing I wanted to say about board and commission is that we're gonna really try to tackle shade tree language really soon, and I think that's gonna be a very broad, it's gonna have to be a pretty broad discussion about what council wants to charge shade tree with, because they currently operate with no charge whatsoever, that I mean, they do fantastic work, but we've gotta get on the same page with them about, yeah, okay. So maybe starting next month, we'll see some of that. Last discussion, item C, EIT FAQ for Borough website. You've seen
Sent you
the
one.
stuff I've been typing.
I just sent you one.
Yeah. We don't have to talk about each of these or anything. I mean, I think we could probably whip some of these into shape as real questions, or if we find they're answered elsewhere. But these are the kinds of things, I'm referring to the email I sent out last night, that I would kind of like to see, just on a website, so people could sort of recognize themselves in these topics. And I think there are a lot of specialized situations people have, the residents, that they might wonder how to deal with, or whether they're, alone, or whether they can get some guidance from some of these scenarios.
Yeah, I mean, I think I appreciate you pulling these together. I think these all totally make sense as things for us to provide information on.
Okay. So we can just continue to work on these offline a little and refine them, add to them. We can take new ones on a rolling basis as they occur to us.
So
All
do
right.
you want us to hold off on publishing anything until we have something more concrete, or did you want to go ahead and publish what we have for now and add to it?
Well, I think we can go ahead and, how would we proceed with this? Would we submit them to Berkheimer and try to get answers for them, or?
Yeah, so what we can do is we can pull the Q&A that Berkheimer has on their website currently
Yeah.
that you wanted to replicate, and that we just take their answers from their website, and then link to their website as well. And then what I can do is I can send the list of questions that we have now to Berkheimer to have them supply us with answers.
Okay.
And then if you want to vet those first before we publish them, I can send them around.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we can just publish them as soon as we get the answers from Berkheimer.
Okay, that sounds good.
I've never met them. Sometimes I felt like they weren't necessarily clear when they were here in person, so I want to see, just to make sure that they're not creating more fuzziness rather than less.
So we'll take a look at them first.
Okay, so Jim, I'll take then the questions that you devised, send them to Berkheimer.
Mike had at least one additional.
Yeah, I just sent one to you, actually two to you, because it dawned on me. I sent one with specifics, but it made me realize that there's a more general one, which is just, how is residency determined? Like if you're, is it just based on where you're registered to vote? Is it where you have your permanent residence? For the college students, is it, if they're
How many days out of the year you're in a
right? Is it based on a majority of days? Like
Right.
it's not clear at all what counts as a residence. It sort of spun out of my other more specific question that I sent you.
Yeah. Okay, can you send those to Maggie too, and we can
Yeah.
put them on the pile?
Cool.
All right. All right, let's leave that there for now. Review of ongoing projects.
Real fast. Tony, thank you so much for staying on. We're good. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you, Tony.
Okay, see you guys. Have a good one.
All right.
Okay, unless you want to make public comment for some reason.
I'm all set.
Okay.
See ya.
All right, public comments. Anybody, there's nobody online, there's nobody here, there is no public comments. Let's have a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor of adjourning? Thank you. We're adjourned at 12:12 PM.
I want one of our consultants one day to just show up